Alright, this is John Cola with Okraw.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. And today I was actually out in the field, in the orchard at a U-Pick farm, actually picking these very ripe peaches right off the tree. And as I was doing that, I was thinking to myself, man, John, you should make a video today about, is fruit good or bad? And then I was like coming up with all these cool ideas in my head, and I'm like, oh, this could be a good rant video. I should just turn my camera on here. And well, I didn't end up doing that, but I did end up coming home, and now I am making that video for you guys. Is fruit good or bad is the question. Some of you guys might think, John, you are a fruit hater, man. You don't eat that many fruits in your diet. You must hate fruits. You know, here's the thing, guys. Answers in life are not always simple. They're not always yes or no. They're not always right or wrong. It's quite unfortunate in our society, in our culture, and maybe even many cultures around the world, there's a lot of division. You're either on the right or you're on the left. You're a liberal or you're conservative, and there really seems to be no middle these days. And everybody's always wanting to pick sides. In those superhero movies, there's a villain and there's a bad guy. Well, you know, and there's never like somebody in between that's maybe sometimes good if he hangs out with the good people, but sometimes he's bad if he hangs out with the bad people, right? And so there's this dichotomy going on in our minds, this binary way of thinking, right, wrong, good, bad, in a lot of things besides just the fruit. I can't dispel all the things in the world about this, but I can talk about fruit that I know a little bit about since I've been eating it for like 27 years as a primary part of my diet, and I've done lots of, you know, looking up research on published studies about fruit and vegetables to, you know, just prove to myself that I'm doing it right, and if not, I'm gonna make minor adjustments and improve, because the reason why I got into eating fruit was for my health, to improve my health, and I could definitely say that it has done that. Now, the next thing I want to let you guys know is that I don't want you guys to think always in binary. Actually, you probably shouldn't think in binary that often at all. You know, once again, right, wrong, good, bad. Things don't only have to have two answers. Fruit doesn't have to be either right or wrong. It doesn't have to be good or bad. And I guess what it really comes up to is that it depends. And so I want you guys to remember, it depends. You know, when giving answers to so many things that people want, is it right or is it wrong? Is it wrong to speed on the freeway when the posted speed limit is 65? It depends. If the guy behind you's on your ass and going 90 and everybody else is passing you in the slow lane because you're going the speed limit, you might want to speed up. I mean, I can't tell you that because you might be breaking the law, but then so is everybody else. So, I don't know. So, you know, it depends is the answer. And that's the honest truth, guys. Is fruit good or bad? It depends. And it depends on a lot of factors, and that's what I want to cover in this episode. Is fruit good or bad? It depends, and you're going to learn how it depends, and I'm going to give some scenarios, and you'll learn if fruit is good in some cases or bad. And what I want you guys to think, instead of good or bad, I want you guys to think good, better, best. In some cases, fruit might be the best thing that you could be eating. But in other cases, you know, it might just be a better thing or even a good thing. Or maybe something that you want to lessen in your diet. Now, that's going to be a rare instance, of course. But, you know, there are people that may want to lessen their fruit consumption. So the next thing I'll say is that fruit has been implicated in many scientific studies for improvement of things like cardiovascular disease, inflammation in the body, things like colon cancer, and even good for building your immune system. And so, I mean, there's proven studies on this. So, I mean, I'm not making this stuff up. You guys can look up the study. I'm not going to reference any studies in this episode. The reason why fruit is good in its whole natural form is because as I pick up this peach right here, number one, it is full of liquid, full of water. It is very hydrating for us. Links down below to a video where I just made how you could actually get your hydration from fruits and vegetables and other water-rich foods, as proven by science. That's number one, right? When you start dehydrating foods or drying it, I have some freeze-dried strawberries here, right? You're removing the water content. This is part of the whole food that makes it healthy for us, because when you eat a peach, it will hydrate you add to a moisture level, especially if you are dehydrated from eating cooked foods. When you heat out the food, things that are baked and fried, could have very little moisture content and can be dehydrating. Pizza is fairly dehydrating, actually. Now, the other thing besides the water content in fruits is that it is full of fiber. Fiber is one of the components of fruit that can slow the absorption of the sugar in the fruit. Now, I said the magic word sugar, but John, fruits have sugar, therefore it's bad because sugar is bad and fruits are bad. Well, yes, this kind of sugar, whether it's raw turbinado sugar, white sugar, coconut sugar, I don't care what kind of sugar it is, if sugar is isolated and put into a package and the only ingredient is sugar, then I'm going to say it's not good for us, because now you basically took away all the water, you took away all the fiber, you even took away things like the vitamins and minerals, and more importantly, phytonutrients, and more importantly for me anyways, bioactive compounds. Link down below to a video I just did on flavonoids in foods. That's one of the reasons why fruits are so good for us, due to high flavonoid content. The other thing I'll say is that not all fruits are created equal. Some fruits are healthier to eat as shown by science than others. For example, lemons and cranberries are more protective against liver cancer than something like bananas. Apples are more protective towards liver cancer than, say, bananas, right? So I want you guys to select your fruits carefully and choose ones that will give you the health benefits you want. That being said, you also should eat a wide variety of fruits, because every different fruit will have different benefits and different things it may be able to help you in your body. So fruit in its whole form is a whole food, has a whole host of different nutrients, including phytonutrients in certain fruits that can also slow down the sugar absorption, even if it is in its juice form, where some or even all of the fiber is removed. Now, the other thing I know what you could think, you're thinking, John, but fruit contains fructose. I mean, it's in the word fruit, it has fructose. Well, this is not high fructose corn syrup. Once again, high fructose corn syrup is basically like sugar, because they're basically extracting one component of the food out, right? In peaches or nectarines or any of the fruits I have here, there's a small percentage of fructose in the fruit, right? And here's the thing, it's not about whether you eat fruit or not. It's how much fructose does that fruit have in it, and then what is your overall fructose consumption for a given time period. If you exceed your, fructose tolerance limit, it may cause some challenges in your body, especially if you don't have a properly functioning liver. So, that being said, it's not just the quantity of fructose, it is what is the fructose coming in with, like other fibers and other phytonutrients, because it is processed then differently in the body. So our bodies are designed to digest fruit perfectly. I mean, people say we are frugivores. Our digestive system is that of a frugivore, and while that may be true, we could easily digest fruit and have been for thousands of years, right? To me, it doesn't mean that we should just make our diet exclusively out of fruit, because clearly we can digest a lot of other things besides fruit. I mean, people live on all kinds of crazy different foods besides fruit, that I wouldn't necessarily want to put in my body. That being said, science has shown a lot of health benefits from eating other foods besides fruit. So coming back around to my original question, how I really wanted to do this video is kind of put up two scenarios, right? Is fruit good or bad? Once again, the answer is it depends on you. For example, if somebody's eating McDonald's all day and Wendy's, and they go out to Denny's, for dinner, and they're basically only eating out, right? Is fruit good or bad for that person? Me personally, I'm going to say fruit is probably one of the best things they could eat for that person if you're eating entirely junk food diet, because you're not getting any like minimally or unprocessed plant foods in you, right? I believe it is important to have a balance of different kinds of foods that we eat in a day, and some of that should include fruits. Even the USDA says on the famous Myplate, it used to be the food pyramid, half of the plate should be made up of fruits and vegetables, and how many people follow that directive from the USDA. Well, less than like I think 10 or maybe 12% of Americans eat the recommended servings of fruits and vegetables a day, which I think is nutso, man. Like, why don't people eat fruits and vegetables? Because, you know, they have natural sweetness from nature, but then meanwhile everything's being flavored with sugar. And hey, if you could stop eating a few cookies or candy bars and instead pick up nature's fast food, eat some fruit instead, oh my gosh, fruit is like the healthiest thing compared to cookies and candy bars and processed foods. I would rather eat fruit than like white potatoes any day of the week. It has a lower glycemic, index. So once again, we need to put things in context. So now I know you're thinking, John, if fruit is so good, can I make my entire diet out of fruit? Well, you could do that, and there are people in the world that make their diet an entirely fruit diet. They're known as pure fruitarians. For me personally, I don't think that's the best strategy to take. I personally believe that there is such thing as too much fruit. You can overdo your fruit. How can you overdo your fruit? Well, to me, I think overdoing fruit is when you're eating so much fruit that you're basically neglecting to eat other food categories. Things like leafy greens, things like vegetables, things like root vegetables, maybe some things like grains or beans or things like mushrooms that have very low calories, or eating things like flowers like artichokes, right? When you're eating so much fruit, because it's so good, you are neglecting eating other things. And the thing I've learned is that, there's no simple answers in life. It's not just eat a fruit-only diet and be healthy. Based on new science of the microbiome, they're showing a wide variety of fruits and vegetables and other plant foods that contain different kinds of fiber and phytonutrients can make a more robust microbiome, and that means we will be healthier in the long run. In addition, there's lots of different phytonutrients on the planet. What are phytonutrients? Well, basically, they are plant chemicals that the plant makes to defend itself from the weather, from the environmental stressors, from pests, right? You could see here some of these nectarines are a little more red than others. Maybe this is the side of the nectarine on the tree that was like in the sun, and so that the nectarine doesn't get sunburned, it's like, I need to make more red pigments. And then the red pigment's protected better from the sun than maybe like the yellow stuff that was like, maybe this was grown underneath some leaves so it didn't get as much sun, right? So I mean, when selecting fruits, right, if you select ones that are more like, rich in color, you may be getting more nutrition from them. But it's these very phytochemicals, and once again, like some people have black hair, some people have blonde hair because we have genes that control these things. Inside plants, there's genes that control what phytochemical will be produced. So, peach tree will make different phytochemicals than a strawberry plant, or than a cherry tree, or than like a dinosaur kale plant, or a cauliflower plant, or a carrot, that grows a root. Every plant with different classifications and plant foods creates different kinds of phytochemicals, and more importantly, different kinds of fibers that can be quite beneficial for us. So it is my personal opinion that we should eat a wide variety of plant foods, including all the different types of plant foods. Of course, we need to eat a lot of fresh food, as much as you possibly can, fresh fruits and fresh vegetables, and then fill out with other plant foods. I think the point is, if you're eating too much fruit, once again, if you're not eating enough vegetables, I have a link down below to the video where I made, what's the optimal fruit to vegetable ratio that you might want to eating on a raw foods diet. You could learn about my ratio in that video. And for me personally, I eat 51% or more from of my diet, and my calories come from vegetables, not fruits. I think the ultra high fruit diets where they're eating very few vegetables can be quite problematic in the long run, and I would advise you guys to not do it. That being said, most Americans are simply not eating enough fruit, and for most of you guys watching this, fruit would be a good thing. Hey, if you could stop drinking a soft drink and blend up some fruit in the blender with some coconut water or some water and some frozen bananas and frozen fruit and turn it into a smoothie, that's infinitely better than drinking a soda or some kind of packaged, bottled beverage with sugar content, including things like kombucha that are actually, if you didn't make it yourself, it's highly sweetened and has too much sugar in there, in my opinion, despite having small amounts of probiotic content. That may be actually added in and not from natural fermentation. So yes, in the end, I believe fruit can be a healthy thing. Just don't eat too much of it. For most Americans, you're going to worry about not eating enough of it. For raw foodists, you want to not eat too much of it, in my opinion, and each person needs to find their balance. What I will tell you, after living on a raw foods diet now for 27 years, my fruit, when I was younger, I could handle a lot more fruit, and as I'm getting more mature, I don't like to eat as much fruit as I used to, and I'm basically listening to my body, and also corresponding that with some blood tests I've got, and some of the results on my blood tests, trying to dial those in to get them even better. So I'd encourage you guys to check in with your body to see how you feel, but not only how you feel, but check in and get blood tests to make sure that your level of fruit consumption is good. It is known that leafy greens contain more minerals than fruits, especially fruits that are grown under conventional or even organic agriculture these days, because even conventional and organic agriculture are not doing the practices to the soil, not adding the fertility of the soil they need to be growing, to be fully nutritious, in my personal opinion. That's why I grow as much food as I possibly can, and my goal is to eat as much food from my garden as I can before I go out and source local fruit, which actually, all this fruit here is all local fruit from a local farm. I think these tomatoes are from California. These are from Washington State. So I try to eat as much as I can locally, and then I fill in with other foods to make it happen. So now I want to get into some specific comparisons whether fruit is good or bad. So for example, my nephew, right? I love my nephew, and his dad buys some, little fruit snack things that are like, I don't know, I looked at them before, and they're like little gummy fruit things, and it says, contains real fruit. All right, so our little gummy snacks made with fruit that probably contain a small percentage of fruit better than whole fruit picked right from the orchard? Absolutely not. Fresh fruit is way better. Now here's where it gets interesting. Fresh fruit picked from a local orchard that is not sprayed but not certified organic, is that better than an imported, fruit like bananas that came from afar, even if it's organic? And I would say yes, right? Fruit that's sat on the tree for longer has a probability of absorbing more nutrients from the tree than something that has been picked early and then shipped from afar. Plus, eating more local fruit is more sustainable for the planet because there's not all the food miles on your fruit. Plus, because it is picked locally, you're probably hopefully picking it at its peak ripeness, and it's going to be more nutritious because of that as well. And of course, traveled less far is super important to me. Plus, I'd rather eat a locally grown nectarine than imported bananas any day of the week. All right, how about locally grown organic versus backyard grown fruit, right? Once again, I teach you guys good, better, best. If you guys can't grow your own, don't think, I can't have the best, I'm not gonna do it. No, then fall back to locally grown fruit. I don't have enough fruit trees to produce all this fruit on my small property, so I go out to the local farm and harvest some of my own fruits and buy fruits so that I can eat fruits, right? So once again, good, better, best. So between backyard grown fruit and local fruit, I'm always gonna choose backyard grown fruit because I know exactly what was sprayed on my fruit. I know all the nutrients that were put in the soil to grow higher quality fruit. And of course, I'm not gonna be picking my fruit until it's completely ripe, sometimes a little bit overripe and getting dried out. Actually, I just saw my Meyer lemons are starting to get a little bit dry in the plant, but that's good. It's really like low acid at that point, and I'm really getting a lot of benefit from like the pith and the lemon bioflavonoids in there. All right, what's better, frozen fruit or fresh fruit, right? That's a big debate, and I guess the answer is it depends. It depends. Was the frozen fruit picked at its peak ripeness and then flash frozen? Did the frozen fruit get picked when it was unripe and then frozen and then thawed out and then refrozen by the time it got to you at the store, right? Is the fresh fruit picked at its peak ripeness? Is it going bad? Is it going moldy? You know, here's the thing, guys. I mean, it depends, so you never really know. So I would say any form you guys could get fruit, like if you live somewhere where it's cold in the wintertime, you can't get fresh fruit, get some frozen fruit, because surely frozen fruit's better than not eating any fruit at all. I like to include some frozen fruit that I can't necessarily get fresh near me, so I can eat it more times of the year. So for example, I mean, I can't get wild blueberries near me any time of the year if I wanted to, because I don't live in an area of the country that grows them. So I do buy them frozen, and I always have these in my freezer year round, pretty much. These are from Trader Joe's. That's the best place to get them. These are wild, pesticide-free wild blueberries. You guys can get them at something like Sprouts Farmers Market. They have Wyman's wild blueberries, but they're like twice as much money, or almost twice as much money. I think they're like $5 a pound, and these are like $3 a pound. Of course, you know, I also like to get other different kinds of fruit, such as fresh fruit. So these are fresh organic cherries from Washington State. And look at these. These are really nice, deep, and rich purple color. I don't like to get them when they're kind of like just barely, you know, pink. They're just picked so unripe. But you know what? That's a good choice, because they still, even though they come from a farther than my nectarines I have, or my peaches I have, or my apricots I got, right? I like to have a variety of things. So the next question is, what's better, man? Fresh fruit or dried fruit? So it depends, once again, right? In general, I say freshest is always bestest. Always get the fresh fruit, because the dried fruit has been processed more, and once they start to dehydrate or remove the water content from the fruit, you will lose nutrients. Now, there are better or worse ways to dry fruit. This worst way is through basically sun drying in the sun. The next would be dehydration. I'm not a big fan of that, although I will eat some dehydrated fruit sometimes. The best way, though, is through freeze drying. So if you guys can see in this jar here, these are freeze-dried strawberries, right? I'll pull one out for you guys so you guys can see. These are basically freeze-dried strawberry halves, right? And if I pulled this out and you guys looked at it, it pretty much looks exactly like half of a strawberry, except the water is removed. And if I just go like this, look at this. It literally turns into dust. And so the freeze-drying method preserves more nutrients, phytonutrients, than dehydration method. It preserves the cellular structure, the nice color, and basically just, it's really good because it's a concentrated food. So now I'm concentrating phytonutrients, which could be good. That's when I eat freeze-dried strawberries and freeze-dried. These are the same, like wild blueberries, freeze-dried. Now you can totally store them and crunch on them and have a nice healthy snack. These are actually low in sugar. That being said, if you're eating freeze-dried mangoes or bananas, they're very high in sugar and lower in phytonutrients. So, you know, unless I'm traveling or backpacking out in the middle of the woods and I have no other food, those would not be my first choice. You know, but I do like to include some freeze-dried fruit for their phytonutrient content. Another very important consideration to think about is if fruit is good or bad. It depends, you know, not only how much you're eating, what kind, you know, fresh, frozen, dehydrated. Oh, and then I forgot about talking about canned fruit. Canned fruit, I'd say, is better than a candy bar, but, you know, I encourage you guys to, once again, do fresh first, frozen second, dried next. And if you absolutely live in like some place where they don't have dried fruit, fresh fruit, or frozen fruit, canned fruit's better than not eating any fruit and eating something like pasta or bread or Twinkies or something, you know. But yeah, try to avoid canned fruit. A lot of it is canned with additional sugar added, and that really will basically nullify the helpful effects of the fruit. And when they process the fruit at higher temperatures to put it in the can, you know, it loses some nutrition as well. So another thing besides the type of fruit you're eating is the time of day you're eating it. Even eating something as healthy as cherries at the wrong time of day may not be as healthy as eating them in the right time of day. So the science says that our bodies can handle and better digest sugars early in the day instead of later in the day. So it'd be best to eat your fruits early in the day, and then later in the day transition to eating more vegetables that don't have as much of a glycemic response because we are really ready in the morning to start digesting our food, our fruits, and other more higher calorie foods. So I'd recommend making your largest meal of the day either breakfast or lunch, and by dinner start winding down and eating less food. That being said, hey, if you're hungry after dinner and instead of eating a pie, once again, eating fruit instead of a pie or a cake or cookies is still way better, even if you are eating late at night. So, you guys have to start doing your own thinking. I'm not going to be here to think for you. But yeah, always think good, better, best. And if you're replacing fruit with something worse, it's going to be better, And don't forget, guys, besides just the sweet fruits that I've been talking about mostly, there are also plenty of non-sweet fruits. Technically, tomatoes are a non-sweet fruit because they're not really that sweet, but they do contain seeds. Same thing like bell peppers, cucumbers, zucchinis, even things like butternut squash, and I would consider even things like peas technically are, could be considered a fruit because they have seeds in there. But, I get the whole snap peas that I just eat the whole pods alone, and those are considered non-sweet fruits. And I encourage you guys to ramp up your non-sweet fruit percentage as much as you can. There's going to be even less reason not to eat more non-sweet fruits, or maybe, they're classified as vegetables by the government. Now, the final thing I want to share about fruit today is, I talked a little bit about this, but I really want you guys to get a variety. We are here in July, and in July, I'm picking fresh local peaches. I'm buying local, actually these are white nectarines, my favorite. We have locally grown apples here. I still have some plums and apricots that I bought. And then, we just got figs, just came into season here, so I got some figs, as many of the ripe ones that they had. So and I got some imported cherries from Washington State. So I encourage you guys, I'm not just sitting here eating only bananas. I'm not just sitting here eating only watermelons. I have some watermelons in the fridge. I have honeydew melons in the fridge. I have cantaloupes in the fridge. Right? I have a whole spectrum of different kinds of fruit, and that's another reason why fruit could be good or bad. Hey, if you binge on only bananas, right? Maybe eating only bananas are not that good because you're missing out on other nutrients that could be in peaches, or that could be in nectarines, or that could be in anthocyanin-rich cherries, right? Or just to max out my varieties, I get frozen fruits such as the wild blueberries there. I just picked up some organic frozen dragon fruit and organic cherries when I don't have them fresh anymore, to put in smoothies and to add some coldness to my smoothies and ramp up my nutrition in my smoothies as well. And of course, I also eat some, dried fruits, freeze-dried fruits in moderation. Very important, freeze-dried fruits in moderation. And I even go out on my way and buy things like this. These are called cool berries, and these are freeze-dried hawthorn berries from China. These are also a very low on the sweetness, so they're like not quite a tomato, but they're definitely not a peach or a juicy sweet watermelon by any means. So I really want you guys to eat a variety of fruits because everyone is different. And if you're eating only one fruit or just a handful of 3 different kinds of fruits, I personally don't think that that's as healthy as eating a nice wide variety. So you're getting your whole complement of vitamins and minerals and phytonutrients and bioactive compounds met. These are some things that are very important to me. So these are my opinions and my thoughts if fruit is good and bad. What are your thoughts? I want to hear your thoughts. Put it down below in the comments. I'd love to read them and hear about them. I also let you guys know, as much as I love my fruits, I eat generally 1 meal a day of fruits is my goal. And if I have a second meal, it's going to be a meal of something like berries. So it's like more high antioxidant fruits. And then I eat lots of vegetables, including drinking vegetable juices, as well as eating a lot of vegetables raw, like in a salad, and then even heat processing some of my vegetables so I could get more vegetables into me, and heat processing other select foods so I could have a more well-balanced, well-rounded diet, and not excluding different kind of food categories based on some kind of dogma or belief system. I tend to look at the science and see what the science says and try to fit the science in with my belief system and see how I could make that work together. So predominantly I eat raw fruits and vegetables with small amounts of heat processed vegetables and some other kind of heat processed plant foods, including beans, high antioxidant, like rices, as well as mushrooms, which I believe to be quite beneficial and healthy. So if you guys enjoyed this episode, me talking about the fruit and whether it is good or bad, hey, thumbs this video up. I'll make more kind of rant videos in the future like this, sharing you guys my personal opinions after living on a raw food vegan diet now for 27 years. Also, make sure you share this with somebody else you think it can help. Also, be sure to smash that subscribe button and make sure you click the bell so you get notified as my new videos come out. My new videos come out every 5 to 7 days. You never know what I'll show up or what you'll be learning on my YouTube channel or what new knowledge bombs I'll be dropping on you. And finally, be sure to check out past episodes. Our past episodes are wealth of knowledge. Over 600 episodes at this time on this channel dedicated to teach you guys all about why eating more fresh fruits and fresh vegetables are beneficial for your health and how to increase your health. So with that, my name is John Kohlert with Okraw.com. We'll see you next time, and until then, remember, keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables and get rid of that processed food. They're always the best.